Hey everyone, welcome to the Healthy Team Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Erickson, and this is the show where we dive into the real stories behind thriving workplace cultures, exploring everything from wellness and morale to leadership and productivity. And today on the Healthy Team Podcast, we're joined by Sheri Smith, founder and CEO of Indigo Education Company. Since 2013, Sheri's been working to reshape education through a learner-centered approach that values self-awareness, empathy, and individual freedom. And Sheri's company's tools help people better understand themselves and find work that aligns with who they are. And anyways, today we're going to talk a little bit with Sheri about what it means to support wellness and productivity from the inside out. And anyway, Sheri, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Mark.
Oh, you're so welcome. And Sheri, if we could start off maybe by having you tell a little bit about yourself and your business and the kind of work that you and your team do at Indigo Education Company.
Absolutely. As you said, we are all about helping people know themselves. Self-awareness, we believe, is the beginning of all knowledge and learning, and then helping people also, especially young people, know who they are, know where they're going, and know how to get there. And we also work with educators and nonprofits across the country.
Awesome, thank you. And quick question. So, Indigo focuses a lot on self-awareness. So, how have you seen that influence productivity, whether it be at school or in the workplace?
Well, we feel like it's so important to know, especially your what gives you energy and different styles. I don't know if you've ever taken like personality tests, like a DISC assessment. Are you familiar with DISC? So,
DISC, I'm not. Can you
okay,
elaborate on
or
that one?
yeah, so we do a lot of different kinds of personality tests, but DISC, for example, is a behavioral assessment. And we're teaching, 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old kids that, hey, if your style, for example, is to be low influencing or be someone who's introverted, if you want to have productivity and energy, you need time alone. You need time to recharge internally. But someone who's high influencing, who's more extroverted, to get energy and have more productivity, they need to work in teams and they need time with other people. And that will actually make them more productive.
Awesome. What does wellness look like in your own leadership practice? Are there any daily habits or mindsets that help you personally, Sheri, to keep your energy and productivity up?
Well, a big one for me is, I moved to the mountains of North Carolina a couple years ago, and I work outside, as you can see, surrounded by green and nature. And so
Yeah, it
for me,
looks
being,
beautiful.
yeah, and that's one of the things we measure too at Indigo is what motivates people. And that one of the motivators is aesthetic. And people who are high aesthetic, the location where they work really gives their energy and productivity. So not everybody is fortunate enough to work outside in a rainstorm, but people can decorate their offices or do things to make their surrounding environment enable productivity.
Awesome. Sheri, can you share an example of a time when aligning somebody's career path or learning style with their intrinsic strengths has led to a breakthrough?
Absolutely. I was working with an engineering student in California, and he came up to me after the workshop. I did a workshop with all the engineering students, and he said, "Oh my gosh, I don't think I should be an engineer. I'm like more like an entrepreneur." And I said, "Well, you could be an engineer and an entrepreneur. You could start an engineering business of some sort." And he had never really thought of that before. Wow, it is pouring. And so what happened was is he got together with some of his friends who came up with an idea for actually a company that helps solve create cures for cancer. and he was able to start a business. We raised $6 million. He called me like 7 years later and wanted to use our assessment with his new team.
Wow, wow, that is a fantastic success story. It's extraordinary. So, when you launched Indigo Pathway, Sheri, how did you approach the risk of creating the tools that you have, the resources that you have, and what helped you move forward?
So for me, the risk, for me, it was just a big experiment. That's how I approach everything in life. Is it's a big experiment. There's actually several books on this. One's called "Experiments Never Fail." So I thought, well, why not try it? I can always go back and get another job and see what happens. And as long as you're helping people, then I feel like it's worth the risk. And anything you do to improve society and help people makes a difference.
Okay. And by the way, if you're getting wet there, feel free to head inside, Sheri.
This wasn't even in the forecast. That's hilarious. I think I would have gone inside, but we have visitors, and anyway, it's the whole thing. But
Well, it's just like Colorado, right? If you just wait
yeah,
15 minutes and the weather will change.
it's literally hailing, so it is like Colorado right now. I lived in Colorado 17 years, so I know it very well.
Yeah, yeah. So, Sheri, how do you think leaders can manage the risk of shifting towards more human-centered or unconventional approaches in systems that value standardization?
So as far as moving towards human-centered systems, I think society is moving in that direction already. I mean, education, is starting to move in that direction. Healthcare is moving in that direction. I think with technology and AI and personalization and all the things that are available to now, being human and taking care of us humans on not just a physical level, but an emotional and spiritual level is becoming more and more important for the health of society, for the health of workplaces, and for just, our mental health and our ability to wake up every day and lead productive working lives. I mean, now people are working into their 70s and even 80s. And I don't think that's a thing of the past. Hopefully not because people have to, but because people want to contribute and contribute in meaningful ways.
Awesome. And Sheri, what do you see as the biggest, quote, hidden benefit of learner-centered education, be it for individuals or for organizations?
The hidden benefit is always that the learner gets more value out of it, right? When it's tailored to who they are, they're going to get more value out of it. They're going to be more engaged. They're going to retain the information better, and they'll be able to apply that information towards something meaningful, whether it's in the workplace doing their job or for students finding a meaningful job, even trickles down to their relationships, their families, and their communities. So the benefit really is it's more effective. It might seem like it takes more time or it's too hard, but especially with technology, I feel like it's very, very possible in our society.
Awesome. And does Indigo do other types of assessments besides learning styles, as an example?
Yes, we have a soft skills assessment. So helping people know what kind of skills employers want. So like communication, leadership, futuristic thinking, planning, organizing, things like that employers are really looking for in their employees. And we do that with students as well. We have a social emotional assessment, so how people perceive both their internal and external worlds. We have the DISC assessment, which I told you about, and we have a motivation assessment. So what drives people, why they do what they do.
So, and it sounds like some of them are not just for students, but could also be used by business teams to where leaders could potentially find out, a little bit more about the learning styles and capabilities in their team members.
Absolutely. That's really where the assessments are traditionally used is in corporations. And we focus on education because one of my real purpose in life is to help younger folks have self-awareness. But the companies and teams can absolutely and do use our assessments.
Awesome. And just out of curiosity, do you work with just predominantly large schools, large districts, large businesses, or do you work with schools and businesses of all sizes?
Mostly small schools, actually. We do work with some larger schools, but the folks that have the vision and the bandwidth to do the personalized learning tend to be like charter schools, or a lot of schools and districts that we work with are the alternative education schools. So it's the kids that don't fit in the traditional system, and it's sort of a last chance for them before dropping out of high school. And they're doing personalized learning, and they see the value of taking the time to get to know the learner, to do these types of assessments, to spend one-on-one time with them. So really, our specialty is the smaller or niche schools, although we do work with several districts across the country and a few universities as well.
And for your business clientele, are there any particular verticals that you tend to work with the most, or is it across the board?
Well, because business not is not our focus, it's really just word of mouth, people that have worked with us that know me, and I'll do some work with them, just sort of if they request it, but it's not something we're actively going after at this time. We're really mostly working with the education crowd.
All right, very good. And in terms of building sustainable systems, be it educational or business, what role do you feel empathy plays in risk management?
So I have a lot of opinions on empathy. I identify as an empath, which is someone who's highly sensitive to energy and feels what other people feel. And that is an absolute superpower. I always encourage leaders who also identify as empaths to um, to step up in the world and to create these learner-centered systems, because if you're feeling what people are feeling, then you're more likely to create a workplace environment that works for everyone, because you're like, hey, I want everyone to feel good here. I want to feel good here. And as a leader, if people aren't feeling good, I'm not feeling good because you're feeling what they're feeling. And I've also come to see that compassion can be actually more impactful than empathy, because you don't necessarily have to feel what they're feeling, but you can still recognize what's happening with people, recognize social issues in the world, and feel compassion for that. And then out of that compassion, you can choose action and not be drained. Sometimes if you're feeling everything, it can be draining, especially in times like these.
Yeah, well, and I would think that being an empath probably helped you craft some of these assessment type tools.
Yes.
And actually, that'd be extraordinarily valuable to those of us who are not empaths to help better understand people.
Yeah, it's definitely, if I wasn't an empath, I don't think I could do the work I'm doing. And sometimes it is also has its challenges, just like every gift.
Right, right. Could you tell us a little bit more about like what is being an empath? Could you maybe define that and kind of expand upon that and how that's kind of affected your experiences in business and in interacting with teams?
So there's several definitions of empaths. I really recommend the Empath Survival Guide. It's if you want to. There's lots of different kinds of empaths, and they lay it all out in that book if someone wants to dive deep into that. But the most basic definition is just somebody who is highly sensitive to energy and is feeling what other people are feeling. So you're very tuned into not just the person, but also like what the energy is around the person, how that feels, not just them, but in team dynamics. And so you're picking up on like, wow, I feel you can feel like if someone's sad, you can feel the sadness. And then you have to decide, how you want to handle it, or if it's even yours to handle. And sometimes it's not even theirs. There's like a collective sadness, if like some tragedy happened, or some community went through, some sort of, um, then that also has its own energy or feeling. So there's like feeling your own emotions, feeling the emotions of others, feeling the emotions like in a room, and then feeling like collective or energetic emotions that are coming, larger than just the immediate area.
Well, I could see how that would be particularly valuable working with children who may be struggling, because it seems like they may have issues with their energy, that they may not understand. They just may be having all of these feelings, but not be able to really understand and interpret them and figure out how to move forward in school. I would think that'd be very difficult for them. This has been such a great conversation. Thank you again, Sheri, for joining us and sharing your insights on building healthy teams. And before we wrap up, can you let our listeners know where they can find you and learn more about Indigo Education Company?
Yes, they can go to indigoeducationcompany.com, and all of our information is there. And we can also, if they're in Colorado, do you have a lot of listeners in Colorado?
We do, yes.
So we have a site that we made for the state of Colorado called coloradocareeradvising.com. So for those Colorado listeners, they may want to check out coloradocareeradvising.com.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning into the Healthy Teams podcast. And if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like and subscribe and share the podcast with your team members, or really anyone who's passionate about building great workplace culture. We'll be back soon with more conversations to help you build stronger, healthier teams. And until next time, stay well and lead well.